not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
All right, there he is in the house, Kyle Teige, the West Coast representation of Flagrant Howls here. And we got, so usually producer Ross delivers the best segment of the entire week every week on Flagrant Howls, the random wolf of the week. So this week, Ross is preoccupied producing some other stuff for us here. He's been jammed up all day and all week. So we're going to bring in from Judd's hockey show shortly, AJ Fredrickson has been given access to the random wolf of the week historical archives. We're going to do that actually early in the episode, and then we'll get to some other Wolves related things. I'm just kind of ready for the playoffs at this point. I know the Wolves might have to like go on the road for a play-in, but I'm just kind of sick of like, are they going to be interested in a Tuesday night regular season game? Like, I just want to see them fully engaged in a playoff series here.
I think that's how they feel too. Unfortunately,
very obviously, yeah.
And every time you expect them to be like, okay, finally, we would talk about this at Canis back in the day, but like the Charlie Brown Lucy football thing.
Yeah.
Every time you think, okay, the football's held down and we can go kick it and the team's going to go on a little run, they just Lucy you and pull the football up, and just like you saw against the Pacers the other day when they got blown out. So, but I do think there's some interesting things to talk about. And also, this is the first time they've had like an extended break. So I kind of had another fun Timberwolves related and actually very fun, positive idea for you. But first I want to do Random Wolf of the Week.
Yeah. So, okay, Random Wolf of the Week is going to be presented by these $15 Timberwolves tickets that we've given you guys access to throughout the month of March. And we're getting close to the end of the month here. But Flagrant Howls has partnered with the Timberwolves to hook you guys up with $15 tickets to select March Timberwolves games. And you can visit timberwolves.com/March and use the code SKOR exclamation point. That's SCORE exclamation point. And get your $15 Wolves tickets. So it's a maximum of 4 tickets per account. Tickets will be sent within 48 hours of the game day purchased. Restrictions do apply. Tickets not available, eligible for resale. But again, that's timberwolves.com/March. All right, let's bring him in here. Filling in for producer extraordinaire Ross Brendel. It's producer extraordinaire AJ Fredrickson.
There he is.
Thank you. Big shoes to fill. I know Ross usually comes in here and he is just a bundle of joy and excitement. I'll try to match that level here that Ross usually brings to the table.
You should come in the exact opposite and just be like a total low energy dud for the next 10 minutes.
I guess we can do
be the antithesis
some random wolf. Yeah, no, this will be fun. I'm excited to be here.
You can find AJ pretty regularly on Judd's hockey show if you are a basketball and hockey fan, and across some of our other podcasts here too. But yeah, so you've did Ross like give you is this like Ross giving you the clues, or did you do your own background research for today's Random Wolf?
Ross is very hands-on, as I think you and I both know. So he gave me he gave me a very detailed list of clues. I said, Ross, I might improv a little bit here at times and throw a couple in. Like I got in the mood. I watched a couple mixtapes of this guy before hopping on.
That's a clue in itself, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I'm already messing. Oh,
you're not messing it up. We're always sniffing around for potential clues. So here's how it works. AJ is going to throw out a series of clues, and then we can throw out guesses whenever we want to. If one of us hits a third incorrect guess at any point, then the other one wins automatically. We also get a heat check guess in addition after the first clue. The last handful of Random Wolves are Anthony Edwards, Adrian Payne, Dennis Scott, John Thomas, and Gary Trent. On the season, I have a 9-5 lead over Kyle, but all time, Kyle has a 27-21 lead over me. So it's been, I think it's 4 straight victories. It's been about a month and change since old Kyle got himself a win on Random Wolf of the Week.
Yeah, what happened there? I had like a 14-game lead. And then, I don't know, I think we started pulling out a bunch of guys that were born or played well before I was born. So that's where it feels like hot.
Dennis Scott came in hot. And
for AJ, like if this player was like playing in the 80s, it's all over for me. So,
well, and then I saw in the comments.
Like new school is more you, like modern.
Yeah.
If it's like a second round pick from 12 years ago, Kyle's 100% going to get it. If it's like a veteran from the mid 90s, like, you know, that's in my wheelhouse. I saw a bunch of people throwing shade at us in the comment section on YouTube last week saying they got the Anthony Edwards one right after like the third clue. But the hard part is I'm not thinking about greatest players in franchise history. You're trying to defend against Dean Garrett being the random wolf of the week or something. You're not thinking about KG was one a few months ago, and then Anthony Edwards.
But in their defense, though, we're pretty bad at this still. Like you and
That's
I
true,
do this more than anyone. But like a lot of times, I've had friends or people in the comments be like, "We got it on the third clue. It took you till 9." So
I feel like last week was if you're a baseball player, you're watching a baseball game and you see a hitter just take an absolute belt high fastball down the middle for strike 3. Like, why would he not swing at that pitch? He was probably thinking curveball and then got frozen up. That was the Anthony Edwards one for me, at least last week. Was not thinking at all the best player, second best.
And that
player
was talking baseball on Flagrant Howls.
So okay, AJ, the floor is yours. Go ahead and fire off the first clue, and then we'll do a heat check, guys.
All right. So first clue here on Random Wolf of the Week. This Random Wolf of the Week went undrafted.
So undrafted, and there is at least one mixtape available for this Random Wolf.
I mean, I'm going to shoot first here with the ball in my hands. Nas Reed?
No, incorrect.
Okay.
That's going to be my guess, too. Undrafted. It's really hard to go undrafted, I feel like, and make something. Nas Reed is one of the only.
Also makes me think that it's more recent, too, because I think the draft used to be more rounds and stuff, Phil. Like, I don't know.
It was, yeah.
So not to give you a freebie there, but maybe more recent.
I'm just trying to think of like another undrafted player that might have was Mark Madsen drafted? I don't know. Mark Madsen.
No,
there's probably not a mixtape. There's a mixtape of him like waving a towel or dancing at the Lakers championship parade.
All right, clue number 2. This Random Wolf of the Week has worn two different numbers in the NBA. He has worn 2 different numbers in the NBA.
Kyle knows numbers better than I do.
That's that finance degree. I got nothing, though. I'm not saying Alan Crabb again. I'm going to save that for a little bit because I know Alan Crabb was drafted. But AJ, that's pretty much just every week I mention his name as a heat check guess.
And
it's
one
never
of these
happened.
weeks,
Not even close.
Stick.
But the one time it does, you're going to look like
I'm going to feel so good.
All right, Phil, any guesses? You want me to move on?
No, I didn't keep going.
All right, this Random Wolf of the Week is 6 feet 8 inches tall.
6'8" with a mixtape.
That's what they talked about you in college.
Yeah. If you stacked 2 of me on top of each other and took away the mixtape.
Mackey 6'8" with a mixtape.
All right, clue number 4. This Random Wolf of the Week is currently 37 years old.
I knew it. I told you it was recent, Phil.
This is it's kind of recent. So he would have been.
I still got nothing.
All right.
So 2000, it was like 2008. Okay, I don't know.
No. Okay, we'll move on. This Random Wolf of the Week, no stranger. His trophy cabinet is more than empty, right?
So he's definitely never won a championship.
I think I phrased that poorly. It's not dusty in there. He has won a Catalan League championship, a Spanish League championship, a Euro League championship, and the all-elusive Israel League championship.
Okay, so it's like the opposite of empty. Got it.
I appreciate that clarification. I thought AJ was just going with like the very HR term of being like he sucks. Like there's not a lot on his shelves.
Little PR, like he's still yearning for that. No, this guy, he's a journeyman.
Okay. So wait, you said Euro League champion,
Spanish League champion, Catalan League championship, and Israel League championship.
Wow. Okay. So he's very accomplished in Europe anyways.
Yes.
Is it JJ Barea?
Incorrect.
That's a good guess though.
So that's the first official incorrect. I got one on one.
I think JJ Barea was undrafted too. I should double check that one, but good guess though. I'm proud of you.
It's hard to think of undrafted players.
Well, he's been undrafted. He's been over in Europe. He's been grinding to the point where this Random Wolf of the Week has averaged 7.9 points per game in the NBA over his career. 7.9 points per game.
It's pretty healthy, man. That's
Phil. It just hit me that we might not get this one. I'm struggling. 37.
You're gonna have to fast forward to initials here in about 5 minutes.
Rhymes with.
This random wolf of the week twice averaged 12.1 points per game in an NBA season.
Was that like his peak, like his best seasons? Or are you doing a Ross thing here where
I'm doing a Ross thing here.
Okay.
This is
Are you
verbatim
burying
what
the
Ross
lead
is
that he
doing.
actually averaged 30 points a game in one season and you're just pulling two random?
This random wolf of the week joined the NBA in the 2014-2015 season.
Okay. Interesting.
There we go.
This random wolf of the week is currently making $3.3 million.
Currently making $3.3 million.
But is that because he like owns car dealerships? Like this is one of those Ross clues where like
in the NBA, he's
okay,
making $3.3 million.
His 401k has $3.3 million in it.
Staying on gross total income, this random wolf of the week has earned nearly $88 million during his NBA career.
What?
Oh, people know this now. They're so mad at us.
Undrafted.
Is it Robert Covington?
Incorrect.
That's a good guess, Kyle, though. I'm going to give myself credit for that.
No, he's older than that, right?
I can see the wheels turning.
I'm just writing down names over here.
Okay.
Is it? Okay, I think I got two guesses, but I don't feel good about either one of them.
This next one might help. This random wolf of the week has also played for the Jazz, the Bucks, and the Magic.
Oh my God, is it Joe Ingles?
Oh, there you go.
Ding,
Nice
ding,
job.
ding, ding, ding.
Dude, nice job. Great work.
Good clue.
Oh,
Good
dude,
clue.
that's embarrassing. Okay, permission for the audience to absolutely clown us 6 clues to go for that one right there.
That one's tough. That was a really
Joe
good
Ingles.
setup. AJ, you can replace Ross for all I care sometimes.
Okay.
We won't tell Ross. That was a really good one, though. And another good reminder that the Joe Ingles story that happened last week was really cool. So we haven't talked about that, Phil, but that was a cool moment that he got to have with his family.
Did Ross choose Joe Ingles with the random algorithm generizer thing, or did he strategically pick Joe Ingles because he was in the news for the last few days?
I got a lengthy explanation as to the selection process on how this works. And to my knowledge, it was due to the algorithmic supercomputer over at Ross's desk selecting Joe Ingles. So it was just pure chance. My next clue, and this would have probably benefited Fillmore because he knows my level of ball knowledge, was just going to be, I knew this guy.
Yeah. Well, dude, okay.
Ross will pop his head over the desk, like the cubicles in the office, and he'll be like, "Hey, you want to play?" I'm like, "Ross, there's like a 20% chance I know this guy." Just get to the really easy questions, and I knew this one. Like I've seen this guy play before, so that was
not to keep making excuses for our pathetic performance last week too. But that's the thing that threw me off the most is I think his first clue was that Declan did not get he said, I just gave this one to Declan. He did not get this one right. And now, like, Declan doesn't have the best historical database, knowledge of basketball either. But like, you just eliminate Anthony Edwards mentally. Like, oh, of course, like he would know who Anthony Edwards is. But Ross does a good job disguising the clues.
Good work this week, AJ.
Nice job, AJ.
Come back
Thanks.
whenever you want.
Yeah, you just tell me one.
All right, you can find more of AJ. You guys, we should really get the random wild player / North Star player, random hockey player of the week on Judd's hockey show. Might have to
That'd
be
And then
so
Kyle
hard.
could come on and do that.
Oh, that'd be so hard. Unless they graduated from the University of North Dakota, I'd be cooked.
Oh, are you a Fighting Hawk alum?
Oh, yeah. We are not. We're working on getting a new coach right now, okay? I've applied. We'll see what happens.
This could be the start of a great
We're
relationship.
trying to turn it around, okay?
Yeah.
It's been some tough years. We're championships or bust.
amazing. All right, Age. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
Throw Age back in the green room there. So, okay, let me throw this at you first, and then I know
I had something
you
fun
got
for you, too.
inspired by the Bill Simmons podcast. We can get to that too, but I saw this come across Twitter yesterday from a guy named Peter Dewey,
Okay.
Dewey, and you can file this under the "so you're telling me there's a chance" umbrella. Since the 1996-97 season, every team that won the NBA Finals finished top 8 in net rating in the regular season. So for 30 years, if you are outside the top 8 in net rating in the regular season, you are not winning the NBA championship. If you're in the top 8, you're telling me there's a chance. So here are the top 8 teams as of yesterday in net rating in the regular season. Number 1, the Thunder. Number 2, the Cavs. 3, Celtics. 4, Grizzlies. 5, Rockets. 6, your Minnesota Timberwolves. Just ahead of the Knicks at 7 and the Nuggets at 8. And then there's a notable section of teams outside the top 8, meaning they don't have a chance if 30 years of history is indication. The Clippers are at 9, the Warriors are at 10, and the Lakers are 14th in net rating. Does this give you any sort of hope or inspiration for the Timberwolves?
Yeah, I know the vibes right now, stock down, everything. I was reminded that this team, this iteration of this team, maybe not all the same players, but like, Finchie and Ant and Rudy and stuff, they've played their best basketball or had their highest watermark when they were completely bet against. Again, I always reference that game 82 last season when they just kind of get stomped by the Suns, who they didn't play in the playoffs. And that week was tough. Like, it was a low point because it's like, dude, they don't have a chance. This whole fun season has been blown up. But I'm also not going to like gaslight the fans to think that this has been fun or whatever. So those are real stats. I think it's a little noise in there because the Warriors obviously acquired Jimmy Butler. They're a completely different version of themselves than what maybe net rating on a season would say. The Lakers obviously get Luka, but like I'm still in March Madness mode with my bracket and filling out like Sweet 16 brackets and stuff. And I still think the Wolves are one of the 8 teams that can make a run when only 16 teams make the playoffs. Is kind of the dumbest thing ever. But I really do think they have a chance, not because of what they do, but I look around the league again, and the Wolves have played once now in about a week. So it's like, okay, well, I got to go watch the Grizzlies. I got to go watch the Rockets, the Nuggets. There's no other team in the West outside of OKC who has just reminded everyone again that they are a gold tier. I think they can beat anyone. Unfortunately, I think that's probably what they think too, and that's why they continue to just drop these Pelicans games and now they got kind of swept in this little series by the Pacers over the last week and a half. So I do stand by the idea that if you were like drafting teams of the Western Conference that you think could make it to the finals or the Western Conference finals, you would take the Thunder 1 for sure.
Well, that's a fun exercise.
At 2, you're probably going to take Denver because they have the best player, in my mind, in the world in Jokic. But I've watched some of those games, man, and they can just lose Murray and Michael Porter Jr. for a half, and they'd get nothing from them. And I think the Wolves really have their number too. So would the Wolves go second in that draft? I don't know, but I do think they can make a run. It'll be interesting to see how they play these next couple games because had they have taken care of business earlier, they would well be positioned in the top 6 because the Warriors keep dropping games and the Clippers every now and then. It's still there for them today. You wake up, I believe they're 8th in the West. They are a half game back of both the Warriors and the Clippers. So it's still there for them. But the one thing that has started to irk me or confuse me a little more, and it came up again this week after a practice, and this was kind of the vibe when I was in town on Friday, is this combination of that they're tired, which kind of made sense because Tuesday morning you woke up and they had played more games in the NBA than any other team. So it's like, okay, I kind of get it. But then also Finchie had this statement after practice the other day that they're still battling or something about individual situations. And I
actually have the quote here. He said, is this the one that says, our offense has affected our defense way too much? There's been a come and go theme all season long, and we've got to get over that now once and for all. But then he also had one where he was talking about like nothing that happens in a game at this point is going to impact your season average. So just like, who cares if you're on track to score 12 points tonight instead of 30? Just make the winning play and stop getting in your feeling. It's like everything he says, it refers to the players getting caught in their emotions and feelings as opposed to just flushing a mistake or a bad offensive stretch or something, which is that kind of goes to the immaturity and some of the youth, I guess, of this team. I think if Anthony Edwards was a little bit more dialed in and mature on a night-to-night basis, then the team would be too. They kind of go as he goes. But yeah, Finch is annoyed. You can tell Finch is annoyed.
And that's not this. Just bringing up this quote doesn't mean that Finch should get a pass on any of this. He plays a large role in this too. But I think the quote was, I think some of it is just the nature of everyone's individual situation. At this point in time, we know who we are and we know the recipe that works. if we don't know who we are at this point, we'll never figure it out. I think that individual situation line came up when I was back over the weekend, and I would imagine, without confirming, you kind of just point at guys like maybe a Naz Reid, contract situation, Nikhil, contract situation, Julius, contract situation, young guys that maybe want to play. So it might be a little, I mean, it's not like the locker room's lost or anything. It seems like they're a really cohesive group, but if you're having those conversations now when you can kind of see the playoffs are coming up, I think that's a tough thing to figure out, and I think blame goes on everyone. But I go back to last year. It's like maybe this team is just, I always reference Ricky Bobby, that Will Ferrell movie, but it's like maybe they're just more comfortable when things are uncomfortable and they're kind of doubted. So it's really going to be fascinating to watch. I mean, tomorrow night at Target Center against the Suns, a Suns team who clicked a little bit and then last night got blown out by the Celtics by 30. The Wolves just have the Suns number, and that should be, you know, there's a lot of different bad teams that the Wolves just can't, for whatever reason, figure it out against. The Pelicans, the Wizards, the Bucks when they didn't have their stars, but they always have had the Suns number. So if they come out tomorrow night and kind of blast them, which they should, the Suns have played a lot of games lately and the Wolves haven't, maybe you can be like, okay, one more time, I'll bite, I'll try to kick the football. But if they stumble over these last, 8 or 9 games and go 5-4, 4-5, it might just be a group that their identity isn't that they still have a really good defense, or their identity will just be that they were a 500 team that just kind of never took it seriously and probably wasted a year where the West, I know it's always competitive, but the West is kind of wide open still. And that goes back to that whole drafting thing of who is the second best team right now that you would pin, you know, your 401k on to make a run. And I think the Wolves have an argument, but I also get the argument that they could be out eliminated fully from basketball in the next 3 weeks.
I would be remiss if I didn't at least remind you guys, Kyle and the audience, that the 50-win dream is still alive mathematically.
9-0.
They go 9-0. So let's one game at a time here. Let's take care of the Suns here at home, and then the Pistons come to town on Sunday. And it's funny because earlier in the schedule, you would have looked at that game and said, you know, it wouldn't be so bad actually if the Pistons won that game because, you know, you're trying to boost them. Motor City Minute update, but the Pistons are way clear. That pick is going to convey
for sure
at this point. So, but then you go at Denver. You get this 5-game road swing at Denver, at Brooklyn, at Philadelphia, at Milwaukee, at Memphis, and then you finish home against Brooklyn and Utah. The 50 wins thing is tongue in cheek. But if they're trying to stack as many wins as possible, let's say the goal is to aim to go 7-2 over these last 9 games. You don't have a back-to-back until April 10th and 11th. You just had basically a week of rest with one game in between, and you do get these road games. But there's other teams that are playing back-to-back. The Lakers had 6 games in 8 days because of the Fires being rescheduled. So this is still it's not a 9-0 favorable schedule, and they will shoot themselves in the foot unlike any team in the league. But it is a go 7-2, I would say, 9-game stretch here, and just assure yourself that 6 seed. What's disappointing, obviously, is we've played the game all year. You know, the Wizards game, this, that. In the last week, forget about all those other games we lamented. If you just beat a Pacers team full of backups and a Pelicans team at home 2 Wednesdays ago, and just flip those 2 games, you're sitting 43-30, and you are, a game back of the 5? So you're sitting solidly in the 6, game back of the 5 and the 4, and a fighting chance for the 3 seed with those last 9 games. So, you know, that's been the theme all year is woulda, shoulda, coulda against teams that have backups or teams that are actively tanking. And here we are.
It just feels like we've done this so many times where it's like, okay, now you got to figure it out. But, you know, if they're in the play-in as like an 8 seed, which means game 1 they'd have to go on the road. I mean, we'll see what happens. Those play-in teams, whether it be the Clippers, the Warriors, the Kings, the Mavs, maybe the Suns find their way. I mean, none of those teams, at least in that pool, the Clippers are playing pretty well. But none of those teams are you like scared of. And then you win it, and then you're in the playoffs, and you're like a 7 seed or whatever. But I still hold out that if they finally get their bleep together and are serious and treat this next 9-game stretch like a conference tournament, like, okay, now we got to really flip the switch because the bracket's coming. If they can get into the top 6, which means you probably play this 6-3 matchup against the 3 seed, which looks like it could be Denver or Houston. Those are two teams I just think they match up really well against. And then that kind of, we've been doing a lot of pods and talking about this team ever since the Cat trade kind of came out of nowhere right before practice started back in late September. But they still have a chance to do something. But now it's really just on those 15 guys and that coach of, if you're still thinking about individual situations or politics or who should play, that's kind of just a loser mentality, like for everyone involved. Everyone is a loser. Put that all aside and just be like, let's try to make a little run here because we think we can get back to where we were last year. And that would put a lot of doubt, or that would kind of silence a lot of the criticism that I think this organization's received for trading Carl. So yeah, I'm tuned up. I can't wait. These next 9 games outside of maybe at Memphis, the Wolves should be favored in all those games from like a betting standpoint, even on the road in Denver. So it's an interesting time. It's kind of a reflection point in the season, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, you've got something for me and the audience here in a moment, but let's take you guys to Brixworth. All right, take let your imaginations run wild at one of the best places to pregame for a Wolves game. Brixworth in the North Loop, perfect for home games and away games if you want to just belly up during that 5-game road trip that's coming up late next week. Drink that signature Nasreed Hazy IPA, eat some of the best dry rub wings in town, Detroit-style pizza, and a world-class beer that they brew at Brixworth. Also, it's patio season here. It's like 60 and sunny today. It's going to be 70 tomorrow. And I don't want to speak for them. I have not been to the patio here in the last couple of days, but when that patio is rocking, and it may be here soon, it's one of the best patios. Again, before Wolves games, away games, a great spot, Brixworth in the North Loop. And just actually diagonally across the street is Element Hotel, which is a great spot if you've got a group of friends or family in town potentially for a Wolves game or a Twins game. It's super walkable to most of Minneapolis's finest, most popular bars and restaurants. Garage parking at the hotel as well. Bright natural lighting throughout the hotel, city views. Element Hotel, an awesome spot for a night or for a weekend, for a gathering. You can get a 15% room rate discount when you go to scorenorth.com/element. That's a 15% room rate discount, scorenorth.com/element. Okay, Kyle. Give it to me.
We just had some days off. There's nothing to talk about. They look really bad against the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
I was texting Dane throughout that game, and I was like, at halftime, they had a little fight in that second quarter. I bet you they make a run here and win this game. Then they were outscored by like 20 in the third.
Yep.
So that is your Minnesota Timberwolves 24-25 season in a nutshell. But I was listening to Simmons and Russillo the other day, and they kind of did like a little segment where they basically, I think it was called Sliding Doors. And I just needed myself a little pick-me-up for this team that has really taken years off of both of our lives this season. So they did some sliding doors moments, and basically it was kind of like, what if? Like, what would happen if this happened? And then the sliding doors of X, Y, and Z domino effect. But one they didn't do, and I just was thinking back as I was trying to figure out how in the hell did Anthony Edwards, by the way, hurt his hand? Something we have not figured out yet that seems like it's a big deal. But what if sliding doors moment, the Minnesota Timberwolves back in the fall of 2020, COVID, what if they would have drafted James Wiseman?
Man. Yeah.
Like, I take that wherever you want, and we can actually do kind of like a this would have happened. But to set the scene, D'Angelo Russell represents the team at the lottery back in 2020, virtual over Zoom. They win the lottery. They have the number 1 pick in a draft that there's no March Madness. There's no combine. It's really tough. They have a roster that I think probably was something like D'Lo, Malik Beasley, Taurean Prince, Carl, Nas is on the team. But I was just thinking this as I was watching Warriors Heat the other night. If they take James Wiseman 1, and now they have their new, dynamic duo twin towers of, instead of Rudy and Carl, it's Carl and James Wiseman. The Warriors take Ant.
Oh my gosh.
They are set up for the next, decade and a half with the next kind of the heir to the throne. They have a backcourt of Steph and Ant
They would have moved Clay maybe earlier than they did,
right? Or if Clay still has it in him, I mean that's a 5-man lineup sometimes of like Steph, Ant, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond. That's a really good defensive. Maybe they win more than one title. Do the Wolves exist anymore? Now that's twice you've passed on this super duper star that goes down to Golden State and saves the franchise. Are the Wolves sold? Because it was 9 months after that I think when they originally came to terms with Alex Rodriguez, Mark Lowry, and Glenn Taylor in the summer of 2021. Yeah. I think it's summer of 2022. They trade for Rudy Gobert. Do they do that? Like, what does this whole thing look like? And then, honest to God, do they exist? If they don't, and again, because I was just thinking, recently we've been pretty critical of Ant. He is their best player. I think there's moments of growth on the court and off the court that he still needs to do to become one of the 3 or 4 best players in the league. But man, I'm also reminded too that without him, I mean, we could just be looking at a 20-62 D'Angelo Russell running a lot of high pick and roll with James Wiseman, and tickets are $1. Use promo code SCORE to actually have them pay you to show up to games.
This is it's a wild revisionist history scenario here. So let's go down this rabbit hole for a second.
Wherever you want to go.
So real quick, so they were coming off a 19-45 season. Mm-hmm. The 2019-20 season.
Yep.
So when was the draft? Did they, because they stopped the season for months and then they did the bubble finals. And then they held the draft in like the fall?
I think it was November 19th. It was late in the fall. Yeah, and then the season started pretty soon after that.
So yeah, and they cut some games out the regular season. So they finished 19-45. So Anthony Edwards' rookie season, and he didn't make like a huge impact. I mean, you saw flashes, but he wasn't like a winning piece yet as a rookie. So I think just for fun here, follow me on this. If they were to draft Wiseman instead, you could say that as rookies, neither one of them was like moving the needle for a team that won 23 games in 2020-21 and wound up with, what was the pick they wound up with in the next draft, the 2021 draft? They were sitting at, or did they trade that? Is that they traded that for D'Lo, right? Is that what happened? And then the Warriors
drafted Kuminga
7th overall. So this is like, my question is, would you have, I guess you made the D'Angelo Russell trade before anyway, so that pick was gone regardless for the following season, right? Mm-hmm. So you would have been without a draft pick in 2021. So you would have missed out on like the lottery that had Cade Cunningham and Evan Mobley. I mean, there's some players in that draft. Could you have been bad enough? Oh my God, he sucks. Wiseman can't play. He's injured, all these things. Would you have been bad enough with Cat and D'Angelo Russell still being formidable players to get your hands on Banchero at the top of the draft in 2022 or Wemby? Like, that would have been your hope. You would have been like, okay, this didn't work after 2 years. Can we be bad enough for another franchise player and just play the lottery game? But I don't know if fans could have. In retrospect, like the stakes of that draft are much higher than we maybe thought that they were, because now it's like, oh, they got Anthony Edwards, but could a fan base really have withstood another atrocious whiff in the top 5 of the draft? I don't know, man.
And is Chris Finch the coach, right? Because Ryan Saunders was here for Ant's rookie season, at least part of it. Is Gerson Rosas? Does he find?
Does he find love?
Is he on Love is Blind, Minneapolis 2025? It is for all the dumb things, and this franchise might lead the league still after 36 years of dumb moves. Getting that one right, thank God, because just imagine too, like they passed on another, I don't know if Ant would be considered generational prospect, at least he wasn't at the time, but they passed on another one to go down the Golden State. Now you're literally watching like your potential I mean, I think the Curry passing over Curry twice has, at least for diehard fans, has gone away a little bit because they've just been beaten up so much over it. But it's one thing to just watch Steph all those years, like, oh, you could have had him, be awesome. But then having him throw lobs to Ant, who you also could have had, would have been, I mean, talk about all podcasts would have been sponsored by like the Calm app. This podcast probably doesn't even exist, which some people probably love. But that was a big sliding doors moment for me because it reminded me just how long ago it seemed 2020 was and how chaotic. Like, it was a weird time in life. I just watched like 5 hours of TikToks every day, and everyone's filming TikToks at their own house because no one can leave. But if they don't get that one right in a season, which I think any team has always been on the record saying that was the hardest draft ever because you didn't have a lot of data. You couldn't really get to talk to these guys in person, but the franchise is still a struggling franchise, but getting that one right really changed, I think, a lot of people's lives. And again, like, are they sold? Who's their president of basketball operations? Who's their coach? Who's on the team? Is Carl still on the team, but it's like year 9 now and it's just him? Fascinating situation.
And even from the Warriors' perspective, so they won the championship. It was the year after the Wiseman draft, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 years after the Wiseman draft, because they moved off Wiseman like after a year and a half. Didn't they ship him out? I mean, he did not stay very long.
And he got hurt. So I mean, does he get hurt here? I get all that stuff, but he also didn't want to play here, I believe, was the case because the Wolves had a center at the time, Carl, and that wasn't really a time where you were playing too big. So it was just
they won the championship with a roster of it was Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and then Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole were the other two guys in that starting lineup. And then it was like Looney, Otto Porter Jr., Gary Payton's kid, and I don't know, maybe like another couple fringe guys. It was not a great, of all the Warriors teams in the last 10 years, it was kind of how did that team go on and win the championship? But you would have had like a year 3 Anthony Edwards injected into that thing too, probably coming off the bench. I don't know. Maybe he's a starter because he would have been, a top 3 pick. But the idea now that it would be a Steph and Anthony Edwards backcourt and Draymond Green still anchoring things, and who knows what the other moves would have been, is kind of wild, man.
And without Ant, but with Wiggins, obviously Steph and them go on to win that 22 championship over the Celtics, right? When that was the whole, hey, Andrew Wiggins learned how to rebound. But what if with Ant at the helm, who is one of the 10 best players in the league right now at only 23, what if they win 2? And this is why it's such a fun sliding doors moment, because what if all of a sudden you wake up this morning and Steph Curry has 5 titles and LeBron has 4? Can you imagine? Stephen A would be shirtless on ESPN, and he already basically is. It would be a massive sliding door situation. What if of not only for this organization, but I think like league wide. Like, what would the entire league look like had the Wolves, who were rumored to like other guys, right? I remember that time I was running the blog, and they were interested in Wiseman, and I think Gerson Rosas also thought Halliburton was really good. It was actually kind of a bad draft if you look at the top 10 and the guys that like Okoro and Patrick Williams and Avdia, who's come around a little bit. But yeah, man, just of all the dumb things this team has done, at least they hit that one. And then the seismic shift that it's, then they get a new owner and a new president and a new coach. So I needed that a little bit. I needed a little life injected into me as we continue to watch this team that every time you tune in, you're like, okay, they're 10.5-point favorites against 6 guys from New Orleans I've never heard of. And it's like, oh, they just lost.
Yeah. And then, of course, the other tentacle to this would have been it's the second time in like 15 years that you gifted the Golden State Warriors an all-time like generational talent player, Steph Curry, going back.
It wouldn't be as bad as Luka, because I still think what Dallas fans have to do right now, watching Luka play for not just another team, but the Lakers, and they're going to have 62 nationally televised games next year. I mean, I don't know. I said this to you a couple weeks ago. I think if I was a Mavericks fan, I would just stop watching basketball, and that sucks. That's my favorite sport. But I don't know how it ever gets easier for you. It's not on the Luka level, but it would be right tucked underneath tier 2 of like watching your dream backcourt of 2 probably, I mean, Steph's a Hall of Famer, maybe Ant will be one day, play every night, not on your team. That would be a brutal reality for a fan base that does not deserve that type of negative emotion. So I'm happy that Anthony Edwards is on the Timberwolves today, and maybe his hand will not look like Myles Garrett in Week 16 tomorrow night, wrapped up in giant tape. So
I heard it was knuckle push-ups. That's the word on the street.
That's more than we've heard anywhere else. So it'd be nice to know what happened.
He's Kyle Teige, and I'm Phil Mackey. If you haven't already, click the like button and the subscribe button on the Score North YouTube channel. And over on Apple and Spotify, give Flagrant Howls a 5-star rating and a positive review. You can find Kyle, too, on Dane Moore's NBA podcast. We love ourselves some Dane Moore around here. And, this is a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast, Flagrant Howls.